So it's lovely to meet you and congratulations for the film.
Well, thank you.
So this is a long-awaited sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make it for the fans? Did you make it for your own satisfaction? Or did you make it for the characters themselves to continue, to give them closure, perhaps?
It was the last one. It was Dory needed closure. As a writer, I realized watching this film about 5 years ago, because I hadn't watched it in a long time, that she wasn't resolved. And she was such a beloved character, and I knew she had tragedy under the hood, and that she deserved to have addressed. Yeah. So it was almost a standalone film in my mind, like to just deal with her. It wasn't so much to like come back with the Finding Nemo gang.
Yeah. Okay. So the film is not just about what happened after Finding Nemo, but also before, and it takes into account Dory's entire journey and how that weaves into the previous film.
Yeah.
So how complicated was this process?
The process, it's cake. No, the process itself was very complicated. I mean, it was complicated basically because having a lead character with short-term memory loss is a bit challenging. Andrew would curse that he'd be like, "Who came up with this character?" And we were like, "You actually came up with this character."
Yep.
But what I think we always knew, interestingly, is that there was, from the very first version of this film, there was always this one scene that intersected. Like we always had the scene where you first meet. Marlon, and that was always the thing that was kind of in that first act, because it was kind of a nice. We loved that about it, and then the thought that because we called it Finding Dory, somebody sometime years from now could watch it and not know which one was first, and have it work kind of separately as its standalone film was something we also were kind of striving for.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So the film has many underlying messages about family bonds, about identity, embracing diversity.
Yeah.
Was there one particular message that you wanted to put across, that you really wanted to convey?
I mean, as a writer, you only have one thing you're trying to say. There's no way it doesn't bleed into other things like you're listing. But my only focus was self-acceptance. It was the issue of we all have something about ourselves that we may see as a shortcoming, and it may not necessarily be as broad or as blatant as a disability. It could just be just the way you perceive yourself, or the way that you think, and the way you process things that ultimately defines you. It's ultimately actually your strength. It's what makes you unique. It's your unique thumbprint. And when you can come to accept that, there's a sense of peace and maturing that happens that you don't get otherwise. And it's not unique to somebody young. It happens for me at middle age. It can happen at any time in your life. Yeah. And I felt that was what Dory was going through and needed. And I felt like that was the universal thing that everybody could relate to.
Yeah. So Dory continues a trend of unconventional, vulnerable heroes. Is there a deliberate intention to move away from those classic roles of villain and hero?
I've never been interested as a storyteller to do that stuff because I find life itself is fascinating as it is, and you're pretty much fighting yourself more than you're fighting anybody else. That's an observation she made that I've capitalized just now in the answer. But
no, I think it's not archetypal. I think there's something that makes the movies feel a little bit different when they feel more personal. Yeah. In a weird way, when they feel kind of more relatable. Like that's something that I struggle with too, or that I understand what that character is going through. Not because I don't face villains on the street every day and have to fight them. I like those kinds of stories too, but that's never been kind of the typical story I think that you've told.
Yeah, so, I think I loved how it felt like it was a community and everyone was helping her along.
Well, it's kind of what Dory does as a character. She builds families. Those things, and I think that's why she is so beloved. And I think that she never judges other people. I mean, she never mentions Nemo's little fin ever in the first film or this film. And she, when she meets Destiny, who doesn't see very well, she's like, I think you swim beautifully. I mean, she never kind of accepts other people's kind of challenges as defining of them. And the fact that she only sees herself that way, I think, was something that bugged you. You know. Sorry, you're having a wardrobe malfunction.
Oh, wow.
Okay, got it.
I think that was really refreshing, actually, to see how everyone was helping each other along and there were no baddies and no people trying to put
Yeah,
obstacles very deliberately.
I think there's a lot. Even if you go back to Toy Story, there's really like there's kids like Sid, and even in Nemo there's kids like Darla. But there's actually just people doing what they normally do, and it just happens to be how things align that they become obstacles. And I just find that much more interesting, a little more complex.
Yeah. And I was wondering if the cast also managed to connect in the same way as the characters did, or does voiceover work maybe limit that?
Because of schedules and how long we work, most people record by themselves, although we had several pairings on this.
Caitlin and Ty, who are Destiny and Bailey, recorded quite a few times together, and they were great together. They had a great kind of ease with one another, and I think what was great is that because Ellen interviews everybody, that she usually had interviewed people already before they were on the film together, but then a couple of them she hadn't interviewed before, and she had them on her show, and so they got a chance to actually talk about the film in ways that normally our cast doesn't get to do. So it's like kind of a nice byproduct.
Definitely. So Andrew, you're fully involved as always in the project, from the writing, directing, and lending your voice to the characters. Do you have a favorite part in the process?
I think I love the solving. I've said this before, but it's true. I love the solving, and it comes in many different times and in many different places. I love solving a story problem. I love seeing a scene come together. I love working with an actor and getting a line right. I think that's the drug for me in the whole process of making a movie. Even though it's so difficult and it takes you down sometimes, there's many little mini victories every day, and it's almost like maybe doing like the longest crossword puzzle known to man. Like you just get the satisfaction for every little answer you get right, and that's to me what I love about it. And seeing that each little solve is almost like a little stitch that's making this one large blanket that at the end hopefully is something to really admire. And so it's all those mini solutions that I enjoy.
So there are films like Finding Nemo that become instant classics. When you're working on them, do you have an inkling that this is going to be?
No.
Or does the realization only come afterwards?
It comes way after.
Okay.
Way after. Like even now, it's like, I think we always joke with Andrew especially that it was like a year after Nemo came out, and he was like, I think it was pretty good.
It's true.
We were like, dude, I think it was pretty good. Yeah. So I think, and again, we're surrounded, we have this weird kind of curse and luxury of being surrounded by incredible filmmakers at Pixar. So we never feel like superior in any way. You're kind of always humbled in this odd way by being surrounded by people who are making amazing films that you're just kind of standing in awe of, like, how I would never have come up with that. So it feels, it's a pretty humbling place to work in the best sense.